What's going on, guys? We are trying to set up a live right here. I got Bog with me, even though it's super hot. Let me set up this camera. I'll get to you in a second. I'll show you what we're rigging up and that. Awesome. I think we're set to go. We are out live on Lake Gunnersville, and we're going to be doing a little bit of what I absolutely love to do. I'm going to rig it up for you in a minute, but we're going to do a quick live, and it kind of correlates if you guys are on YouTube or hanging out at work watching YouTube and that. Right now, I just dropped a video that goes in depth on this technique. It's we're going to be doing some summer flipping and pitching. The bite has been pretty tough, I'm not going to lie. So I make no guarantees on catches, but I'm going to walk you through the process, walk you through the rigs, walk you through kind of what I got set up, and hopefully Bog the dog doesn't jump out of the boat, dude, because he's freaking hot. I might have to dip him in between some of the live and all that. But go make sure, I know a lot of you guys are already subscribed, but go make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Hey, Dwayne, I will be in Florida shortly, probably in the next 2 weeks or so. So we'll be doing some fishing down there, hopefully catch some bigs, doing some offshore fishing, as well as maybe hitting up headwaters. And we're going to spend some time on the Harris chain with my buddy Chris from 44 Tackle, Chris Kingry. Super cool dude. But we will see. I make no guarantees. Like I said, the bite's been kind of tough. Been on a pretty good flipping bite, but this is one of my favorite ways to catch them this time of year. A frog is a blast, but I think later in the year we're going to catch some more on them, on the frogs and that. So we'll try to do a live with some frogging. But I'm going to show you a little stretch that I got. It's been kicking out some bigs. Not a lot of fish, but I've been catching some decent ones off of it. So I figured it'd be a good time on a Friday afternoon to go live, hang out with you guys. FYI, it's like 87 degrees. That's why the dog is hot. This camera phone deal might take a dump shortly because it might overheat, but we're going to try to go for, maybe 45 minutes, an hour, and fish this stretch, or as long as the stretch takes to fish it really intricately, really slow. So let me grab what I'm going to rig up, and I'll show you guys real quick. So let me dig in my box of magic right here. I actually took a lot of stuff out of my boat because I've been doing like one of two things, or one of three things. I'm either throwing a swimming worm, punching, or throwing a frog. So it's been pretty straightforward as to what I need to have in the boat. But what we're going to do is, and you guys know I'm not super obsessed with color, but right now I'm getting a little tweaky with color because it's been so clear out here. So what I'm going to grab is, I have a BB Cricket right there, and I actually want you to notice something. This is back at you. I hope you guys can, here, let me put it to the side. You see how it has those blue tips on the craw like that? So there's a bunch of brim in this grass where we're fishing, and I've noticed that the brim have, like, they're always like bluegills, like that's what they're called in that, but they're not always as blue as their name might contend. So what we're gonna do is try to mimic some of these. They're literally like yay big, like a pointer finger long or something like that. And as I mentioned, it's hot and the bite's kind of tough. We're kind of starting to drift into some of that dog day fishing. We're not quite yet there. I smashed them the other day, and you guys will probably see the video next week. But it's starting to get to that hot point where the fishing it's tough, dude. You still catch them, especially if you get out here early in the morning. But what we're doing is just, I'm going to Texas rig this on a 1.5. It's a Hogtech tungsten weight. It's a punching style weight. I got it on braid. This is an 80-pound braid, double bobber stopper. If you guys go and watch the video that I just posted, it'll have you a walkthrough for all this. But this is kind of a tease for it, I guess you could say. 7-Eleven, a heavy action flipping stick. I got the Zebra Corrado right there. It's a 701. But what I'm going to do is I'm about to turn us around, and I'm going to put us in some matted grass. It's a mix of eelgrass, hydrilla. I'll kind of walk you through, since I got you guys in the back of the boat hanging out with me. I noticed a lot of you guys kind of like hanging out from the back of the boat, kind of co-angling with me, so that was pretty cool on the last one. But I'm going to swing this boat around. We're going to kind of get into it. And if you guys watched the last live, what we're going to do is kind of the same format as we did last time. I'm going to do a little bit of fishing, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'm going to come back. So you guys can comment on the video as much as you want. Totally down with that. I love to hear your feedback. But if you guys got any questions or things that you want to add for me to see and pick up on, it's going to need to be when I'm back here looking at the camera, because I can't I can't see the stuff. So yeah. So Bassmaster Live I think is on too. So you guys can dual screen if you got a big like computer to monitor, or if your phone has enough space. You can watch Bassmaster Live. You can watch me fishing, whatever you want to do. But I want to say real quick, I really thank you guys for all the support you've given to the channel. As you guys know, this is not like a viral channel. I'm not cool, and it is not huge compared to a lot of fishing channels. But what we try to do here is really down to earth, grassroots fishing. I try to share what I learn. You guys share what you learn with me, and it keeps it about fishing. I'm not into like the weird, clickbaity kind of stuff and that. I want to learn to fish. I love to fish. I take every moment I can of free time to be out here, and your support for this channel has really helped to make that happen. So I want to thank you guys, especially you guys tuning in for live, because I know you guys are the hardcore ones. So let's see here. What do we got? Hey, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. So I'm going to swing this boat around, guys. We are going to do a little bit of summer punching. I'm going to come back and talk with you guys and walk you through exactly what I'm fishing. This is literally real-time live out on the TVA. No FBS, no Pro Bull. Like, literally, we're fishing. I have no idea if we're going to catch them. And to be honest, we might struggle a little, but if we can get 1 or 2 bites, it would be pretty darn cool. Actually, I wouldn't mind doing a Walmart challenge. Walmart has some sneaky kind of good baits, dude. They don't have a lot of really good stuff, but they have some sneaky good baits. But we are going to slide. Yes, the tungsten. Hey, well, actually, you know what? We'll talk about that for a second. So somebody mentioned that the tungsten is bigger than the bait. So the reason that I'm doing this, there's 2. 1, I want a smaller presentation, and 2, if you see how streamlined that thing is, so these mats and this grass that we're about to go and fish is super thick, and what that does is, if that weight gets through, I don't have to worry about the rest of my plastic getting through. You guys have been seeing me throwing a stinger, various creature baits and things along those lines. Those work great, but there's a little bit of a breeze. It's a little harder to get through the mats, so this is a smaller, more finesse presentation, even though it's on a super big weight, and it gets through. It's amazing because I can literally put this BB Cricket on that 1.5, and I can get through stuff that I can't get through when I put a creature bait on, just because it's so streamlined. But we're going to swing this thing around before this camera overheats, and let's do some fishing, all right? All right. And try to not knock the camera over. That would be nice too. So I think you guys can see pretty well. So what we got right here is just a little stretch of hydrilla. It's just matted grass right here. There's some chop grass mixed in. You guys might be able to see it on the camera a little bit. There's some areas where the grass is basically blown in on top of that. And we're going to be using our power poles quite a bit, because I like fishing this stuff inch by inch. I know there's some fish situated in this stuff, and they're slow to catch, they're hard to catch, and that's why you got to pick it apart. It reminds me a lot. It's interesting because summer and winter are opposite, but they fish in many of the same ways. So in Florida, a lot of times we'll do this for pre-spawn fish that are, trying to warm up, but the weather, just for at least Florida standards, isn't that warm. So they get super tight to cover. They tuck up under stuff. And it's ironic because in summer, you see that same behavior from the fish. They get in some of this stuff that you're seeing ahead of me, this super thick stuff. They get really tight. They fish really small. And I love doing it. This is one of my favorite ways to do it. So let's get to it right here. Make a few drops. But basically what we're going to do is we are going to target some of these points and some of these extended sort of heads of hydrilla. And basically I just drop my bait in, and you'll notice usually I would just be kind of pitching in. Bog, don't hit that camera, dude. I don't need you knocking that iPhone into the lake. But usually I just drop that bait in and kind of pull out and move forward and fish. I wouldn't say fast, but what I like to call drop flipping or drop punching, and that's mainly looking for a reaction strike and kind of moving on to the next target. In this case, you're going to see me kind of pumping the bait up and holding that BB Cricket under the mat for a while longer, and really, for lack of a better word, kind of soaking it like you would a worm, and also using those power poles to keep me situated in one place to kind of pick an area apart. And that's literally what we're going to do here. I do have my graphs off. That's one thing. We're out on Lake Gunnersville, and that's one thing that I don't know if it's hugely important, but any kind of little advantage that you can get to to put yourself above those graphs make a lot of clicking noise and things along those lines. And in this tight quarters fishing, we're pitching the bait 10, 15, 5 foot out from the boat. We're fishing super small, and I'm about to drop my power poles right here, and we're fishing super small. So any kind of like sound that I can keep off of, I really try to run my trolling motor quietly. I try to not either I put it on like 2 or 3, or in this case, we're not only putting it on 2 or 3, but we're also we're also using the wind. The wind is actually behind us right now. You probably hear it on the microphone when I turn towards you guys to interact in that. The wind is behind us, so I'm basically hedging some of that breeze, so that basically when I pick up those power poles, I don't have to really hit that trolling motor too hard. I can just pick up the geez, my words are awesome. It's hot out, guys. But I can pick up those power poles and maybe tap that trolling motor just a little bit, and basically the boat already gets some momentum, and I don't have to push it as hard, even though we're kind of situated up in this super thick kind of heavy grass cover right here. But it is an intricate process, and it's slow fishing. I mean, I'm literally fishing a worm, kind of like punctuates. I'll pitch it in there. I'll kind of raise it to the top of the mat, trying not to make too much of a splash. There's a bit of wind, so I'm not super worried about it. It's definitely a process, and the bites I've been getting, every once in a while they'll knock it good, kind of like you want them to, but for the most part, they're just kind of grabbing the bait, especially when I'm lifting it up to the top, and it's a very subtle bite. I'd like to be surprised today. That would be a nice little Mikey Ball surprise, but we'll see though. There's some weather coming through tomorrow. Sometimes that makes them bite the day before, and kind of gets them active. But for the most part, it's been a pretty slow process. You kind of pull it up to the top of the mat like I did right there. You'll notice I even have 2 hands on the rod, and I'm just kind of holding it and suspending that bait right under the roof of the mat. The theory is, and this goes right along with the using the BB cricket in that back at you color with some blue on it. If I really wish I had like an underwater camera that I can go live with, because if you look at this trail that I'm in, there's a bunch of bluegill that are just swimming around in these cuts and crevices, and their tails, dude, are like Cadillac 57 blue, dude, like just that bright blue, and they're swimming in and out of the mats, and these bass are using this super heavy cover to basically, I think they're doing 2 things. They're probably sitting out of the sun, trying to stay a little bit cooler than what some of this water temperatures are in the open water, and then they're also just kind of set up, and if something comes along and drops next to them or in the dome area of the heavy cover that they're in, they're going to eat it. It's they're opportunistic. They'll take advantage of a situation where, hey, I can eat, my metabolism's high, it's summer. But I don't think they're what you would. Oh, there she is. That was her, dude. All right, so we're going to pitch back in there. She dunked it. I don't know if you guys saw my rod tip jump, but basically we held it up to the bottom of the mat, and that was in a little bit of chop grass. We're going to pitch right back in there. Oh, please bite it. So we're going to pitch right back in there and raise it up, and it's not going to eat it. But this is what I've been dealing with, dude. I know there's fish in some of these areas, and you pitch in, and I don't know why they've gotten so negative over the past few days, but they've really become hard to catch. Because that fish toinked it, dude. Literally toinked my baby cricket, but didn't get it. And our presentation is pretty small, like we were talking about. We come downsized, but that's a situation where I think he's just sitting in there and looking for something to come along, and then he's suspended. He sees it kind of dangling under the mat right there, and he's like, "Oh, that's a nice little bluegill dangle dicking under the mat." And he toinks it, but we need a couple to actually close the deal and eat it. Ironically, this is a situation where if I could, I really lighten my weight because I think part of the reason they're dropping it is when I go to set the hook, they can feel that weight, but it's sort of a catch-22 because I can't get to where they're located without a heavy big weight like this. Even a 1 1/4, I struggle to get through a 1 ounce. Literally, I'll pitch it and it'll get stuck on the roof of the mat and it won't even go through. And so it's been kind of a grind in that way because I know they're in some of these places. I'm presenting the bait to them and I'm getting bit. But for some reason, you know how them fish can be, dude. Like with a trap or something where they'll knock at it and they won't eat it. For some reason, they're just not willing to close the deal. Even when I'm downsizing, I'm catching a few, but they're not behaving as they should, and being as catchable as they should, I guess you can say. But you can see, I've been in the same place for like 3 minutes now. I got power poles down. There's a lot of corners and angles to cover, and that's really what I'm doing. I know there's fish here, which brings me a lot of confidence. I know they're hard to catch, but it helps me to kind of slow down, even though it's hot, even though you want to move quick, and you in a way you almost want to find some active fish casting in that. I just know there's some better fish here, and that if I kind of slow down, I might not get a ton of catches, but I'm going to get some bites and put myself in a situation where I have the opportunity to catch a couple decent ones. So I'm just going to kind of edge on through this. One thing I noticed too is so this grass is growing up. Every day it's a little bit taller and taller, but they've also I don't know if it's because the rain's coming or what, but they've dropped the water, thus making the grass thicker. But sadly, also kind of a lot of the stuff that I found is kind of shallow. So we always talk about fishing slightly deeper water, nothing crazy, but when you're fishing this grass, during the summer, it's a little more consistent, and you usually find a little bigger fish on some of the deeper grass that you can find. And they basically pulled, I would say, 3 to 4 inches out from these mats, thus making them a lot more topped out and better to lay out for flipping and punching. But it also makes them harder to get through, and it reduces that depth a little bit, and I think it kind of reduces the comfortability level of these fish here. So, but I mean, that literally fishing is dealing with obstacles, dealing with adversity, and trying to figure out a way to catch some bass. I think that's why we enjoy it, dude. That's why I enjoy it. But I do love catching them, and there's no doubt about that, right? You like that shade, Bog? That's still pretty good. It's getting a little cloudy. We might actually get rained on. There's a storm coming over the ridge here, and it looks like it might go drip on us. I'd love to have one just smack it and freaking, I don't want to lose my rod, but take the rod out of my hand kind of thing. So I've had a few that are just like, but that's asking a lot for a fish sitting in 86 degrees of water. Unless it's Florida, they still do that. But I'm actually kind of curious when we go back and do some of the comments. I'm kind of curious where your fish are at, guys. Maybe not location-wise, but from a seasonal standpoint, I think that's one of the most important things we can identify, because we can either be ahead of the patterns, behind, or kind of synced up with where the fish are and what they're doing. So down here, it is hot. It's getting hotter, but the grass is growing up beautifully. There's more hydrilla on this lake than I have seen since I moved up here to Alabama. And that makes me excited about fall as well. And we've had a good couple week run catching some bass out here, doing some heavy cover techniques that I really enjoy. But it's definitely slowed down a bit, and that's a signal to me that these fish are kind of gradually changing into a summer dog day pattern, or that brim spawn weight kind of wear it off, and they didn't have as much food running around, so they weren't as excited the buffet got a little less active, you could say. I have noticed too, which is kind of weird. I was catching them very much in the hydrilla, like it just really focusing on that. And as it's gotten warmer, and it's kind of ironic to an extent, but I have caught some more fish in some of the chop grass areas, which it's weird because it's dying grass and it's usually a little bit warmer. And you'd think they'd want to be in these hydrilla domes, lots of oxygen, but they're sort of situated in between. They're still in these hydrilla domes, but they're under these little chop grass areas. And I really don't know why that is. In winter down in Florida, whoa, that was something big. In winter down in Florida, they do it for the heat. It's a great sort of shoreline or grassline cover for them to use as the weather warms up. We're gonna get freaking rained on, dude. I wonder if this iPhone is waterproof. Probably not. That would be my luck. See if this drifts over. You want some rain, balls? Cool you off a little? I hope not, because I don't really want to get rained on. I was telling my buddy I'm like the Wicked Witch of the West, because I don't like to get rained on, mainly because the cameras don't like to get rained on. It makes it really difficult to shoot content. You'll notice too, I'm re-punching some of the stuff that I've already gone through. The reason for that, me and my buddy Jacob were talking the other day. Jacob Wall, you can go on Instagram and find him. He fishes the the MLF Pro Circuit now. I always want to call it the FLW deal. But in these sort of like expansive sort of grass areas, yes, there's defined areas that sort of stick out like domes and various cover, but to a great extent, especially with all the bait that's swimming around, I think some of these fish are holed up. I think the bigger fish are holed up in specific areas. However, an excellent piece of cover or a grass flat like this also is an area where they kind of just swim around. They might move depending on the sunlight, depending on the current, depending on the wind. So sometimes you can, just like when you're throwing a frog on a flat or something like that, you'll throw it to a place, you'll kind of troll by it, and then you'll literally just randomly make that cast again, whether you're making another pass or you just kind of turned and got that angle, and all of a sudden you get a blow up and you catch one. And I think that kind of holds true here too, where these fish, for as much as they're holed up, they might move around a little. So if you have like a perfect looking deal, just because you pitched in once, whether they were there the whole time and they didn't eat the bait, or whether they kind of just slid in there, but you pitch there once and nothing happens, maybe you hit it at a little different angle, or you drop in on it like 2 minutes later, they might actually eat the bait, whether they just showed up or whether it took 2 tries. Third try's a charm, right? I'm glad these clouds came over though. This is good for the dogs, just so we don't get drizzled on by that one cloud that's sitting there. So Bog the dog, on a lighter note, is pretty much healed. I can't even see his scar anymore. He had that surgery down by his lower gentleman parts down there, and he got all clear. And the doctor also told me, which is pretty cool. I was a little concerned, and he was a little concerned, since the dog does come fishing, especially in winter and spring, with me a lot. There's still a lot of sun in that, and we were a little concerned with his coat. Them gray dogs and them white dogs, they're kind of like fairer skinned individuals, where the sun can affect them a lot more, and you can be more susceptible to various kinds of skin issues and cancer and stuff like that. And we sent his little thing that was down by his gentleman parts to a lab, which is not cheap, but it was well worth it, because the news we got back is that Bog is not allergic to the sun, nor does he have any kind of sun issue, whether it's cancer or a reaction or anything like that. So thankfully, Bog will continue to be Bog the fishing dog with us, because I like having him out here. He's a great companion. He doesn't say much, but he sure as hell gets excited by the fish, and I think you guys like him out here too, because he's a cool jail dog. Right, Bob? You got broke out of jail and you learn to like fishing. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but when I got him from the dog pound, and the first times I ever took him fishing, dude. So I took him. It's when I had that old F-150, that 2006 truck, like that old work truck. There he is. That took a while. Well, that might be a. I think he's still on there. Oh dear, he is down there, dude. This is a way to get him out punching. I don't know. Look out, Bo. Look out, look out, look out. Look out. I think I missed him. I did, dude. Damn it. Well, I didn't get him out that time, did it? So what happened there is a prime example of what can happen. So maybe we'll take a break here for a second. That fish picked the bait when I was kind of suspending it under the mat, and you don't really get that much of a time to kind of drop on them. As I was mentioning earlier, I think when you give them the weight, they kind of get weird with it, I guess you could say. So I'm trying not to like give them too much weight and drop on them too much. And my buddy Glenn Brown, was a strong proponent of you kind of just reel down and keep your rod tip high to keep that weight suspended, and you set the hook on them. And I did everything right, but the game with flipping is you're gonna lose some fish. That's just the reality. So reel them in. So it's funny you say that. One of the best ways to get these fish out of the mats when you peg them, other than going to get them, is you basically take your rod and you point and pull. That's one of the reasons I use the 80-pound braid. But you point at them and pull them towards you, and that actually it's I don't know if the tension is better, it's more of a direct pull, or if they pull through some kind of slot in the hydrilla, but it's a much more viable way to get them out of that super heavy cover than trying to bend your rod over. Plus, you won't break rods, because literally, I don't care what kind of rods you run, you try to like pull out like 40 pounds of hydrilla or 40 pounds of grass along with a fish that's pegged in there, and at some point, your rod's going to go tink and go ahead and snap. So we're kind of situated up in this mat. It's kind of cool if you guys look over. This cloud came over the ridge, and it's literally like fogging everything out and kind of cooling things off, which is pretty dutiful. But I'm back here with you for a minute. Let me grab a drink of water. You guys got any questions about how we're approaching this, or any kind of comments that you want me to respond to real quick? I still got to tell you what Bog the dog did when I first got him, because it was kind of a trip. All right, what do we got here? Bog lounge in the back. Yeah, he's right down there. Parker says, "Hey, what's up, dude?" Yeah, we're just hanging out fishing on a Friday. I hope you guys are going to get out later today or tomorrow. And that depth and water temp. Water temps, I think, like 85, 86. Depth is variable, anywhere from 4 to 8 feet of water. Let me say 3 to 8 feet of water. Let's see here. How deep are you? Length rod. If you go back to the beginning of the video, but I'll say it again, it's a 711 Halo TI heavy. This is both my punching rod and my spooning rod, but I put fluorocarbon on it. Soft plastic with a little flat, but still compact. I do too like a soft plastic with some kind of like appendage. I've been using a Why Not and a Stinger, but I want something super streamlined, and these fish are not biting very good. And it's freaking raining, dude. Are you kidding me? Like, this is hilarious. We're gonna keep running this thing. I think this phone should be all right. Let me put away my other camera real quick though, because it's drazzling a little, and I don't want to fry all my gear here. But we're gonna keep it going because it ain't raining that hard. It's just drizzling. What do we got? Mikey, why are you not frogging? The reason I'm not frogging that is, even though it's domed up, it's not I don't think you might get a bite on a frog, but in some of this grass, until it gets kind of cheesy and gooey, it's very hard to get those fish to blast through that thick roof. Right now, that thick roof is really too thick, I think, to bring them out with a frog. I could turn around and maybe throw out some of that with a frog, but I wanted to do some punching before I go to Florida, because I absolutely love doing this stuff. So Setup for doing this stuff. I mentioned I have a 711 heavy. I'd recommend any rod over 7.6 heavy to extra heavy action, depending on what you like. 65 to 80 pound braid and a stout reel, like a good reel, like something solid. But I'm gonna try to fish a little more because there's another little band of rain coming, and I'd like to try to catch one before I cut out from you guys. All right, we're gonna get back up front, make a few drops. Can we catch one ball? Can we make it happen here? Wind's gonna blow. Dude, they should bite just because of the change in weather. Uh-oh. We are drifting. We gotta back out. Can we back out? Come on. Now, what I just did is a no-no. So the only reason I did that is because it's starting to drizzle, and I kind of want the boat angle because the wind's kicking up. But if possible, you should always try to keep your boat without running the trolling motor. Try to keep it in place without running the trolling motor. And I'm going to do a bad thing again, but it is what it is. Sometimes you can't avoid it. But I really believe that quiet, that being kind of silent, being kind of sneaky is is a really important component to doing this, dude. Because it's close quarters fishing. Like I said, these fish might be moving around, but I don't think they're so active that they don't care about what's happening around them. I think the very fact that they're situated in these mats indicates that they want heavy cover. They want to be protected. They don't want to be, annoyed or hear a bunch of motors running over them, stuff like that. Plus, I mean, we're on Gunnersville. It's one of the most pressured lakes in the country. I think these fish, when they have the opportunity, they tuck in under a lot of this stuff, and they try to sort of stay out of the highway place is. Plus, they don't want baits thrown at them all the time. I'm not gonna lie. Like there's something to be said for pressure. We actually kind of interesting because we fished January 4th, literally the day of. There were so many boats out here, dude. It was crazy, and we caught them pretty darn good. We had like 17, 18 pounds, both flipping mats and then flipping some isolated stalk type cover. And I think part of the reason that they were so tucked in and yet still willing to bite, they were hard to get to bite, but it's because they had tucked in, and more fish had actually tucked in due to the boat traffic into some of this stuff, because they were sick of hearing the boat motors. They were sick of getting casted at because there were so many boats at. So we didn't get a lot of bites, but the ones we did catch were fairly decent, you could say. Fairly decent. I think that one that bit before was fairly decent too, but they're just not closing the deal. Get out of there. You think, Boggs, a little bit? I think this is your first time on a true fishing live stream. So back to Bog. So I got him out of jail, right? And Bog was, at the dog shelter or whatever, the stray animal thing and all that. And went and picked him up, brought him home. And I used to have a red nose pit, and I would take him fishing with me too. It's kind of, if you go way back in the videos, you'll see some of the stuff where I used to take him fishing. And I took the dog fishing. I put him in the front seat of the truck in the Joker. He can jump like freaking 5-6 foot in the air easy, and he would not get in the truck. And I'm like, what's wrong with you, dude? Get in the truck. So I finally had to lift him into the truck, and the dude was shaking, like dead scared of being in the truck, like shaking in his bones, dude. So we drove, I don't know if we went to Okeechobee or what, but we went to some lake in Florida, and the dude is sitting there shaking, dude, the entire like hour and 15 minutes it took us to drive to the lake, to the boat ramp. And I'm like, man, this is not going to end well. Like, I kind of thought he'd be a little more receptive to doing some of this fishing stuff, and he's shaking. So the first time was kind of a wash. He literally like slept under the console and did not move and was scared like shitless, dude. Like, just to be perfectly frank, like, that dude was not about it. And I'm like, this is not good. Like, this dog needs to like fishing, but I'm not gonna force them, because you guys know how animals or kids or anything are. Like, the more you push something, the less apt they are going to be to want to do it, and oftentimes they'll sort of react against it. So I knew I would try to take him fishing a couple more times, so I took him like 2 or 3 more times. By about the third or fourth time, he recognized the fact that we were going to do something outside, which he enjoyed. He could kind of hang out and do his own thing, so he started jumping into the truck, and I knew at that point that we had him locked in. So he started jumping into the truck, having a good time with it, and he wasn't quite into licking fish by then. He would mainly kind of just sleep under the console and just hang out in that. And dude, there was one day I think I caught a few like 6 or 7 pounders, fishing some deep stuff, and he must have seen how excited that I got by fishing and catching fish. And all of a sudden one day it was almost like it clicked, dude. One day he just friggin', like, I went to set the hook, and he must have seen me kind of like, you know how you set up when you're about to like hook one, and that he must have seen me set up, and that joker popped up with a pointer, dude. Like, he was up here waiting. He's like, "What's going down? Let's do this thing." And ever since then, he's he's been all about this fishing deal, man. Like, I think he learned it, and he learned to like it, kind of like I did. Ooh, that felt like a bite. Take it back down. Literally getting bit, and they're dropping it. But ever since then, he's been all about the fishing. I don't think he likes it when it's 90, and I don't think he likes it when it's 30 degrees outside. But no matter what it's like, he wants to come. He doesn't like being left at home. He will sit there and cry in the house when I leave and don't take him during the summer, and that. It's kind of amusing. But you like to fish, right, Law? I like to fish too, a lot. We're just gonna keep picking this apart. Like I said, it's not hyperactive fishing. This is sort of the real version. If you want the cut up version where I put together an edit, go watch 2 videos ago and see what it looks like when you cut all the fish together. But this is the reality of it, is you go for an hour and you get one bite, and you might catch it, you might not. But that's the game you play, because I can go out and catch some pound and a quarter, 2 pound schoolies and stuff casting around. But if I want to catch a freaking 3+ pounder, I think right now this is the way I gotta approach things. Slow and steady, knowing at some point something's gonna happen that's gonna be what we're looking to have happen. This rain is absolutely bizarre. Do not start pouring on me. Low north. Oh. Come on, guys. What happens too when you're doing this is a lot of times you'll get ticked by brim as well, and that's a good sign. It means that bait is under the mat, and obviously interacting with your presentation and that. And that's an indicator of an active mat. We've talked about it in the past. You know, that's something you definitely are looking for. But it can confuse you too, because sometimes there's some rock bass and stuff in here, and they will knock your lure, and you will think it's a big. I actually caught a mudfish out here, which I didn't even know they were out here, to be perfectly honest. Rain. Wind is not helping either. This would probably be an example, but since I got you guys live, I'm not going to go and skedaddle, because I'd have to turn off the live. But you get a little kind of like spritzer shower like this that blows through, and all of a sudden you get a little bit of cloud cover. You know, the truly adaptive angler, the one that's, you know, recognizing slight changes and how things are sort of evolving throughout the day. You know, this would be a great opportunity to go get on a little pot of fish that you got on a bar or on some little grass line or something, and slang a chatterbait, slang a spinnerbait, and throw a square bill or that swimming worm, and try to pick a few off. Guys, we might be cut short by the rain here. I'm gonna power fold down for a second and make sure this camera isn't shut up. Talk with you guys for a second. But yeah, we're getting a little bit of rain. I don't know if you guys can notice. You can probably see it in the background there with these clouds coming. We're gonna keep this live running for a minute because I think it's going to blow that way. But we're going to take a second here and get an opportunity to. It's more about getting your bait in the right pockets. I don't have the patience to make hundreds of casts for one fish. To me, it's about the right cast. That's true, but it's interesting you say the right cast. Like, you don't know what the right cast is until you make it. So I think that's one thing I like about flipping. It's interesting because you're making so many presentations that when you get bites and when you catch some fish, you can identify what that right quote unquote cast or pitch is, just because you're doing so many drops, so many times you're presenting the bait versus casting the bait, especially. So yeah, it's about making the right cast. But I don't know about you, I'm not omniscient or whatever. Like I can't see the future. I can't put you put the fish on the end of the line by your actions and by your preparedness and that, but at the same time, especially with this grass fishing and shallow water fishing, it's not like grass fishing where I can really identify the fish prior to casting them off. I can identify possible productive areas. I can identify places where I think they should be, but the only way to actually get down there and see if they're there is by making a drop and getting after it. So, you can identify let me give you another example. A week and a half ago, the right pitch was some of these corners and stuff like that, and that was the deal, dude. Like I had them lined up. I could call my shot. However, now the bite has slowed down. They've tucked a little deeper in, so there's less definition to where they're situated, and thus I need to pitch more and be more open-minded to where they're sitting because there's a little more randomness built into it. I don't have it as dialed in. So, talk fish. Say that one again. Any tips for targeting fish that are what? What kind of mats are you looking for? So what kind of mats am I looking for? I'm looking for a couple different things. One, hydrilla is a fish attractor. So, hydrilla is a very much a go-to. So I'm targeting hydrilla. But, if you can find milfoil, or what's the other one, chopgrass mats, it's more about how the cover sets up. There's some grasses that I don't like. There's some spongy pondweed stuff that's garbage. There's a few stargrass I'm not a huge fan of out here. There's some stuff down in Florida that I don't like, but it's more about how the grass sets up to make it applicable to the technique. Hydrilla is a classic one, but that's kind of the cool thing that we always talk about, being open-minded with the technique. What if I find some kind of weird grass that I've never seen before and I pitch my bait into it? I'll get to your tiny bait question in a second, but I pitch my bait into it and I get thunked. Well, that grass is set up in that domed canopy kind of setup, so all of a sudden I've identified like something outside the norm, outside your average sort of deal to fish. One example of that, it's something my buddy Joey Bruce kind of showed me in Florida. Garrett Rockamora actually does it quite a bit, and he showed me it works during the spring and winter on Lake Kissimmee, but you actually flip like mud mats, dude. Like they're literally these floating mud dew mats, and you flip those, and those fish, it's hollow below them, so you have to find like holes in it and stuff, but those fish situate like under those mats. So it's kind of an interesting alternative. So tiny bait, it's funny you bring that up. I've been noticing a lot of tiny bait out here. This rain is just not behaving. I think we got maybe 4 or 5 minutes, but it needs to stop. I'm gonna have to, dude. This live is gonna get wild. You ready for this? I got a perfect fix for our situation. Stick with me, guys. The swimsuit girl has been out with us a whole bunch, and so we're prepared for swimsuit girl interactions and hangouts. So I got a freaking umbrella, dude. So hold on for a second. I'm gonna put this umbrella up. There we go. So now I'm going to turn this camera down a little bit here. All right, so this is quaint. I have literally an umbrella. This is pretty lame. So tiny bait. We've been having a lot of tiny bait that I've been seeing. And, yeah, Mikey Poppins, that's freaking good. I should rename this video, dude. Mikey Poppins. Well, if I take off, dude, and it's, a little bit of sugar helps the medicine go down, YouTube will probably flag me for that as a copyright infringement. Dude, some of the stuff YouTube's like doing to outdoor stuff is really a joke. That's why I always mention to you guys, we'll give you a little more uncut version. I always mention to you guys, support the content that you like, because literally they're choosing what you see. Like, they're not accommodating what you like, and that they're literally pumping content into you. So you actually need to go out and actively, if you enjoy fishing content, I'm not saying, don't go watch whatever you want, but Like, watch whatever you want and support what you want to watch. Otherwise, YouTube's gonna pump a bunch of stuff that they think you're like this template person. It's kind of a joke, dude. But it is what it is. It's a platform. You got to use it. But when it comes to little bait, you do see that, especially as you get later in summer. I don't know if they're like the shad fry or what they are, but you'll see a lot of bass schooling on these little baits. And one of the things that my buddy actually over in on Chickamauga, my buddy Caleb, Bass Quest, you could go check him out. He recommends throwing like a little spy bait or a little like not soft plastic, the little Rapala, a little twitch bait, like the old school ones, the old school balsa floaters and stuff like that. And you can watch whatever you want, boy. I saw a comment about Googans. Actually, I love Flair. Flair's good people, dude, and those guys changed the game. But that's a whole nother discussion. Like, I like fish culture evolving, and that's what new content does, and that's what they did. But in any case, that little bait, using kind of little finessey stuff that you'd use in spring. Shad Rap is a great example. Little Rapala twitch bait. Downsizing your fluke to one of those mini flukes. And what you can do too is sort of up the ante. So those mini flukes are hard to cast on a bait caster. So you can do, what is that called? That donkey rig, dude. So you take that donkey rig and you put two flukes on it. So it gives you a little more weight to cast, and you can put it on a bait caster. Other things to throw. I'm a big fan of spinnerbait fishing. You guys see me do it a lot in the spring. I really enjoy throwing a spinnerbait. I would say I enjoy it equally, if not maybe a hair more than fishing a chatterbait. A spinnerbait's cool because it's a bigger presentation, but you can put multiple blades on it, and you can basically mimic those little balls of those little minnows, whether they're little shad, minnows, all those kinds of things. And those little blades, those bass actually attack those little blades. Another one is an underspin, the minnow in like a quarter ounce for shallow water, or a 5/8 for a little bit deeper. Those are all viable deals. The other thing too, if you're on super clear water, especially you guys up north, it's really tough to beat like a little marabou jig, like a crappie or a speck jig as we call them. Those little hair jigs are super killer for a very subtle fluid presentation, and they can be like an 1/8 ounce. They can be super light, dude. They're slow to fish sometimes, but you can get some big bites, and especially if you're on smallmouth or spotted bass, they're awesome. So multi-blade Bass Angler Bait Company talked about a multi-blade spinnerbait. I like the D&M Custom Baits one. I get that one from Tackle Warehouse. I think a few other guys make it. We don't need the umbrella anymore, thank God. You see all that? Check this out. See all that rain back there, dude? There's a whole freaking wall of rain. So the sun came back. So we're gonna fish in a minute here. Now that my umbrella's second. No more Mikey Poppins, homies. So smaller bait's a good one. You guys got any more questions? Otherwise, I'm going to get back. I got a little more of this stretch to flip. I'm so long-winded, dude. I need to learn to shut up. We're already at 48 minutes, and I think I fished like 40 yards, dude. I need to tighten up my live game, dude, instead of being Mikey Poppins. That's kind of fun. What else we got? How do you stay focused when fishing so much grass? So, Jam, that's a great question. And there's one really simple reason, and then there's some other reasons. I stay focused fishing this much grass mainly because I love grass fishing. I like two opposites. I love fishing thick grass. I love fishing super deep. And it's sort of manic opposites, but I really like doing both. I also have a ton of experience. I'm not saying it directly applies coming from Florida, but in Florida, for the most part, other than some of the offshore fishing I do, you are stuck fishing grass. And if you can't figure out how to fish grass, what grass to fish, how to approach it, different techniques, you're SOL, dude. So I've really taken a lot of that history, and grass fishing, in my opinion, is very instinctual to an extent. So I kind of, you get to know what to do. And it's kind of like that question that we talked about before. Somebody talked about putting the bait in the right place, and not making so many casts. Well, making thousands of casts, making thousands of drops, all of a sudden you start figuring out which 100 of those actually worked, and which worked in spring, which worked in summer, and that. And it's embedded, dude. It's rehearsed, It's like that's how I learn, dude. I have to do things over and over again. Otherwise I get out of practice. So I think somebody mentioned, why am I not in a backwater? I think that was the question. There's two reasons. I have a couple backwater things to fish. However, they're flowing a bit of current right now, so we're kind of on the main river-ish, but not totally. So, oh wait, do you like to fish the backwater sites of the channel, or do you target coast? Okay, so that was the question. I like fishing both. The backwater sides of some of these channels have current as well, but it's not as strong. So the fish tend to, at least in my opinion, stay a little more consistent. When you have the river channel flowing with different rates of flow in that, they move around a lot more. Yeah, dude, there's an eagle and an osprey. There's this osprey I pissed off like madly, dude. There's this post where he nests on, and I've been flipping around him, dude. He wants to kill me, like literally. So, but I like fishing a lot of secondary stuff. The other thing that I really feel is everybody fishes the stuff that's there. So I try to get off the beaten path a little bit. I'm not way back in a pocket or anything like that, but you know, I try to stay sort of main lake oriented, but try to find secondary stuff related to the main lake. Maybe it just doesn't get hit quite as much. And it's just, you know, maybe a little bit sneaky, dude. It's like trying to find secondary ledges. I think that's a viable pattern too. There's definitely some main lake ledges that hold some mega schools and stuff like that. But if you can find something a little bit sneaky, a little bit secondary, it's a lot harder to find it. It takes a lot more time. But sometimes it can be super duper fruitful. So so Warren, this will be the last question I'll do, and then we're gonna get back to fishing. Rainbow trout for bad. Rainbow trout. Oh, I don't know about live rainbow trout. How do I feel about all the eelgrass in Gunnersville? So I would prefer it to be hydrilla. I'm not gonna lie. It gets really annoying with offshore fishing with the flow. But having grass in general, whether it's eelgrass, whether it's milfoil, you know, I'm coming from Florida, which is the grass or was the grass capital of the world. They've sprayed a lot of that, and it's really hurt a lot of our fisheries. So even though the eelgrass is annoying, even though it's frustrating, there's a step beyond this where annoying becomes not catching fish. And you guys and I am still catching fish on these TVA lakes. They're not over managing the grass yet. The eelgrass is annoying. However, um, it's it holds bass. It's great spawning cover. It's great for oxygen in the water. So I'd like to see some more hydrilla grow up in Gunnersville, but it's also any of these kinds of lakes, whether they're natural or reservoirs, they're all cyclical. So we will see more hydrilla come back. We'll see more milfoil sometimes. This year we're seeing a lot more hydrilla, so it's pretty cool. But the eelgrass, take it with a grain of salt, dude, because if there was this much eelgrass on Okeechobee, Okeechobee would be absolutely insane right now. But right now it's in a pattern where it's growing back, and it's slowly kind of getting back to where it needs to be. I should collab with Milliken. Milliken actually reached out to me. I got to give him a shout out, dude. He shot me a couple of Instagram messages prior to when he caught that 60-some pounds and that. But he's been super cool. He's a super nice guy, and congratulated me directly when we caught the 50 pounds and that. Super down to earth, dude. And he didn't need to, like, I'm not big time, dude. He's big time, and he didn't need to shoot me a couple messages like when I caught that 13 pounder and that. So that was really nice of him to do. A very humility kind of oriented. So you ever go right over the side of the boat on a 10 to 14 and follow the edge speed? Yeah, I actually do fish the grass lines. Somebody asked, do I just fish that 10 to 14 drop on the main river channel? I do. Especially if there's some mixed grass mixed in, and if there's some current, it can be great. You can find schoolies too. You can find them sort of at the tapering end of a point or a river bar or something along those lines, which is super cool. But right now, I'm going to take a pause and get back to some fishing. We're going to try to pick apart these mats and see if we can at least catch one bass on this live stream, because that would make me feel really good about myself. Nah, it's the only way to get those giant females to bite sometimes. All right, so we're getting back to it. Bog, stop, dude. The horseflies love bog, dude. They eat them live. What else we got here? I just bought my first bait caster. Congratulations, Jack. Dude, I got my first bait. My old man got me my first bait caster way years back. It was actually a piece of garbage, but it sure taught me a lot. It was like this plastic Shimano. It worked pretty good, though, for those old school reels. All right. See if a little bit of rain and cloud cover turn these guys up, because we've been pretty darn quiet too. So maybe some fish kind of settled in. We still got this BB cricket on, 1.5. Wind's kind of flattening out. I wonder if I could go down to a 1 1/4. I wonder if it would make a difference, though, because I think some of these fish are just reacting to the drop on the bait. You know, like it's weird because I'm getting some bites when I'm dangle decking it under the mats, and then some bites not nearly as many, but a few of them are just you put it through and they're like, yeah, dong. Just not holding on to it very well. Right, Bog? I need a bass for you to lick, dude. Do your job. I actually need to go back to work right after this. I figured I'd come out, hang out with you guys for an hour or so, and then I gotta shoot home and go back to work. But it is what it is, dude. It should be nice to fish every day. Maybe one day we'll be able to do that, but for now, we get our limited windows, and we appreciate and enjoy every one of them. I am trying to be a little more subtle with my splashing too, even though the roofs of these mats are pretty thick. Um, but I am trying to be a little bit subtle. I'm just trying to put as you guys can tell, we've been fishing 50 minutes or maybe fishing actually for 40 minutes or so, and we've had 2 bites. One I totally missed. The other one was just a thunk, and then he dropped it. But it really seems like to me you gotta put every card in your favor. Otherwise, the few bites that you're gonna get, you're not gonna be able to take advantage of. All right, we're gonna pop these power poles up. So the power poles are important too. I know they're expensive in that, but for this shallow water fishing, just to be precise with your casts and to sneak around without running the trolling motor continually, the power poles are such a, for lack of a better word, powerful tool to just stay put and do your business. Because bait placement is a pretty big deal, or picking apart every corner. Because that's the thing too. Like I told you guys, we fished about 40 yards in hell, like 40 minutes or so. That is not very efficient, but I really think that's what you got to do right now if you're doing this stuff. You got to kind of identify where you think some of them are, some viable cover, and you got to. Oh my God, dude! He just freaking smoked it. Do you not get that shit, dude? Like you drop it through and you get that reaction bite that you're looking for, and they're active enough to freaking donk the bait when it goes through, but they're not active enough to hold on to this little tiny craw bait. Is not that big. I need to switch and go back to that stinger and maybe have something that maybe falls through a little bit slower. I'll push up a little here. They are just not cooperating. But that's fishing, right, guys? You go out, you pitch. Oh, that's bad sploosh right there. You do get a bite. It is sure fun, dude. Even if it's just like a little like kissing bite where they eat it at the top of the mat or something like that. When you hook up with like a 4-pounder in some of these super thick cover situations, there's really nothing like it. I will tease a little bit too. I mentioned one of you guys asked about when I'm going to Florida, so I should be going to Florida in a couple weeks here. One of my goals down in Florida, I really enjoy this live streaming kind of concept. It's pretty cool. It's direct. It's raw. You know how many criticisms I have for like pro stuff and all that. Gosh, bless it all. And just not being forthcoming. Maybe they're a lot better now, but when I was younger fishing, like all these guys would do is lie to you, and it drove me nuts because as kids and as younger anglers, all we want to do is learn and get better and just kind of we want to put the work in, but we need like a mentor. We need someone to help, and you always look to people who have been successful at this. And a lot of the ones back in my day when I was growing up, they were literally just shilling baits and stuff, and it was a joke. So the point being though is I would like to I'd like to do some of this stuff in Florida. We'll probably try to do maybe a little active target stuff, as well as it's crazy, dude. You guys are gonna laugh, but I'm getting doinged, and it's not brim, and they're not eating it. But I want to do some live streaming stuff in Florida. So in the next couple of weeks, I got some punching videos coming for you. I got me and Jacob actually collaborated, Jacob Wall, and we did a little frog fishing breakdown because we're really kind of going into that time of year. That's probably the next kind of pattern that you're going to see a lot of coming up once we get back from Florida. And so I had Jacob, who I think is one of the best frog fishermen that I know. The kid's really good with a frog, and it's kind of interesting because he learned a lot of it literally just bank fishing ponds and that, being super small, fishing super small with it, and fishing a lot of different stuff. Basically, having one rod with a frog tied on and getting after it. We shot a little video where he kind of breaks down his frog of choice at the moment, how to fish it, what kind of cover to look for, and I don't know about you, but I actually enjoyed listening to his perspectives a lot. So that'll probably be up next week too, as well, if I can get it edited. But I know you guys love fishing a frog, and who wouldn't? Top water fishing, thick cover, braid. It's got all the fun stuff built into it. Come on, bites. Try to get one fish. We might have to run this thing for 2 hours if I just want to put one in the boat. Like 6 or 7 bites. Fog's getting hot because the rain went away. Interesting because there's some of this grass is sort of mixed in with some of this chop grass that's blowing down the river, and it seems like the majority of the bites that I've gotten just today are really related to the holes that this chop grass has settled in, and not so much the domes of hydrilla, which is kind of different from what I thought it would be. But that has to do with when we were talking about like making the drops and sort of getting. Oh, her. I gotta shut up and freaking fish, dude. That fish is swimming the other way, and I pulled it right away from her. Sometimes you can let it drop fast back down. I didn't want it that time. Let's make another drop in there and just see. I don't know if that fish got the hook, but come on, eat it. Don't be camera shy. Not cooperating. Fishing so. Oh my god, dude! I bet you there's like 7 of them under there, just knocking my face, dude. It's one of those deals where I'm wondering too if I came back in 2 hours, or if I was here at like 6 in the morning or something like that, would these jokers like bite? Like would it be game on, and then all of a sudden it just like totally shuts off and there's nothing happening? Like it's so hard to tell. Like you can't like just sit on this and reflip, but you always wonder like, are they biting like this for everybody? You know, is it just a struggle for me? Like, is there something that's turned on right now, and then this will be turned on in 2 hours? It's really the challenge we always have with fishing. Like, is it off? Are we in the wrong place? You know, like what's stopping us from closing the deal here? And it can be frustrating when you don't push on through. But that's why you got to just keep on going and see if you can't put it together. You never know when one is going to just dump it, dude. And that'll make it all worth it. So it's crazy, too. This BB cricket, the hook pops, like, very easily. It's such a small, compact bait. And when these fish are knocking it, I'm amazed they don't knock it and that snell just kind of, like auto hooks them, dude. You'd think like some of them would accidentally get hooked just with me keeping pressure on it and lifting up the bait. Like you don't need much pressure to actually set the hook with the snell and the braid and the rod that I'm using. But thus far, that has not been the case. What do you think, Bob? Want to bring a little luck to this party and make something happen? Things are a little hot here. Should get him a little active having that little storm go through. It got a little bit flat, but should make him a little more open to eating my offering. A little hot bog. Don't knock that camera over, kid. You'll notice, like, I'm taking a lot of time punching this stuff. Like, this is not the super fast, drop flipping that you normally see me doing. Like, I'm really soaking the bait for a minute, making very precise kind of deliveries on stuff. A lot of this stuff has little channels or guts in it, and I'm trying to kind of pitch the tip of it, pitch the inside of it, pitch the other side of it, pitch where it junctures with something, where like the grasses meet. If there's any kind of chopped grass mixed in with it, I'm trying to pitch that little hole that it creates. I'm really trying to be extremely precise and calculated with it, because I know they're freaking here, but they are just some moody little greenfish. The other thing is I just want to hear the braid squeal on this Bluetooth mic, because there's no sound quite as wonderful as So let's break down my pitch real quick. So what I'm doing is I will pitch to one of these little targets, and I will let that bait go through on a semi-slack line, and I'm feeling if there's something on there. That's what I'm doing right now, and then I'm lifting it and literally holding it under the roof of that hydrilla for just a second, not even pumping it that much, but then I'll let it settle down for just a second and pop it back up once, and that's pretty much my presentation. If something looks super juicy good, I might like sit there and hold it under that mat for a little bit longer. Or what I might also do is actually go ahead and pop the bait just like that. Not even in a super fast manner, but I would almost compare it to like yo-yoing the bait, like up and down like that. It's just one of those things where if there's one sitting there, it's kind of like spoon fishing. You sort of piss them off or like move it around their face just enough for them to actually get aggravated enough to eat it, kind of like bed fishing to an extent. But it can be a viable way to do it. It's usually a little better in the cooler water situations, but if you know they're there, you got to pull every trick out of your bag to try to catch one. I do not want to go over on this live. I should actually make bets with you guys, like whether I might catch fish or not when I go live. It'd be kind of fun. Add a little competition into it. What do you think, George? I call Bog George sometimes. He just reminds me of the George. Don't worry, I'll put you in and we'll go swimming in a second. Let me just see if I can't squeeze a bite out of some of this little spotty stuff right here. It looks really good. Starting to hear some brim sort of kiss the roof of the mat. Dude, he freaking ate it. That's garbage, dude. He freaking came up and he kissed it, and then eat it. I felt him kind of bump it with his head. This braid really kind of translates exactly what's going on. It's one of the nice parts about braid. You can get them onto the grass, but even with that 1.5, dude, I know exactly what the hell's going on down there when something comes over and kind of nudges the bait or things along those lines. You get a very direct sort of interaction with the lure. All right, so I got to put on a new bait because I'm tearing this thing up. So I'm gonna come back, you guys, here real quick, see what we got going on. I think we kind of went through the technique, but I don't know if you guys got any follow-up questions. I'm gonna grab a lure real quick and I'll take a look at what you got. Excuse me, Bolt. Let me get in here. We're going to grab that guy right there. Oh, you guys are super chatty. Like balls, yo. What's up, not Yoda? Where is Yoda? There's a couple guys out here, but there's definitely not a lot of boats. There probably will be tonight. Let's see. Oh, I missed that question, dude. If you want to pop it up there again. How deep you're fishing? Anywhere. How deep am I fishing? Anywhere from 3 to say 9 feet of water. It sort of depends. It's kind of like what I said before. It depends on where I can find the cover that I'm looking for. Where do I actually live? I live in Huntsville, but I spend some time in Florida. I spend time in Alabama. I'm very fortunate to do so. So Huntsville's awesome too. It's like ranked number 3 on the top places to live. The color changes for those misses. I'm not going to change my color. I got a lot of confidence in this BB Cricket and back at you. It looks just like the brim that are under there, and it's a compact presentation. I'm not going to lie. I got out here about an hour and a half ago. What's the real? Have a different color side plate. Okay, I'll go back to the bait question in a minute, but I got out here and I was flipping what's called what is that, Gold Rush. It's like June Bug and Green Pumpkin with gold flash in it. I didn't get any bites, so I've switched to this because I've seen the brim and that's what they look like. The reason my reel has 2 different colors on it is because I literally cracked the side plate flipping once and I had it replaced because this is one of my favorite reels. Did you hit the lottery? How can you fish and travel? Dude, I work all the time. So I get to fish anywhere from 1 to 3 days a week. 3 if I'm lucky, but usually it's like 1 or 2 days a week. I work for myself and I work from home, so it gives me some flexibility. But no, I did not hit the lottery. Otherwise, I'd have like a really nice boat and I wouldn't have to work like 10 or 12 hours a day. So no, not quite, buddy. What else we got here? Yeah, I am super fortunate to be able to fish the extra. I've done a lot of hard work to actually be able to do this. I've been poor for a very long time in order to get to fish a little bit more because I do love doing this. This is my time, my release time, the time that I feel the most at peace in that. So I try to do it as much as I can. But you know how it is. You guys all know how it is. In reality, we can only be out here so much of the time. We only have so much time that we can spend, based on other obligations. So I try to get 1 to 3 like days a week, and I try to shoot like at least 2 videos for you guys a week, and maybe do a little more. So what else we got? Dude, that's awesome. So you can fish 4 or 5 hours every day. That's sweet. I'm hoping down the line, if I can be successful in some of the things that I'm doing, that I can get some more fishing time, or maybe even live a little closer to the lake where I could do some stuff like that. So, not yet. Do you like fishing Alabama? I've been thinking about a move from ATL. We can't. You know what, man? I love fishing Alabama. I also love fishing Lanier. Lanier is one of the coolest lakes that I've ever fished. So, basically, I don't know. I don't know if it's different fishing over here. There's more grass, and there's definitely there's some giant largemouth on Lanier though, dude. I've seen some. If you guys watch those old videos, I'm not lying. I saw 2 over 9 on beds that weren't locked on that I couldn't catch. So I don't know. Moving over to Alabama, there's different opportunities, but at the same time, you also have some great fisheries over there near Atlanta, around Georgia, and that. I think is that it's not Norman, it's a Hartwell that's over there. There's definitely some really cool lakes to fish over there. Let's see, what else do we got here? Well, I'm going to go and finish this stretch. It's starting to get like super duper hot, and I'm actually gonna let me dip the dog in real quick. Come here, George. Let's take a swim. You wanna go for a swim? You guys wanna watch me put George in? Put Bog. He goes for swims just like this. So we kind of push him off a little bit, and then he gets to hang out just like this. Oh, it's so comfortable and cool. This is the part of the videos that you don't see, is when he actually gets to cool off a little bit. Yes, you like that? And then we come in just like that. We gotta climb on in, and then don't shake off. Don't shake off, dude. We gotta. You're gonna get the camera wet. But yeah, that's how we keep Bog halfway cool. So let's see here. All right, we are going to finish up this stretch and finish up this live stream. But Bog is cooled off now, so I don't got to worry about him overheating too bad. I got to worry about me trying to catch bass, which is what I like to worry about. I think I can catch one on this tip usually. If we can bust on through and maybe get a little lucky. What kind of sucks though is after it rains, it goes dead flat. And when we got out here, there was a bit of a breeze, and things were kind of setting up kind of nice. And now it is stagnant, to say the least. The only thing moving is a little bit of current that they're running, so it's kind of slow coming. So we're going to get to this end of the stretch. If it doesn't work out, we'll wrap this live stream up, follow up with a few questions that you got. If you guys got any last ones, we'll hit this little last patch. It's hoping to be a little more successful, but that is what fishing is. It's a grind. You go out and do what you think is best or what you love to do, and hopefully get a few bites, but sometimes it does not pan out. I think what I might do when I get off this live stream with you guys, I mentioned kind of maybe mixing it up a little. I might go grind through a few more pieces of mats. I might also kind of get on that river channel a little bit and maybe throw a worm around a little bit, see if I can pick up a few bites. But then the other thing is they have an app for fishing the TVA, or not even fishing the TVA, but the app actually tells you how much current they're pulling. And if they're pulling some current, a lot of times you can get on some of these bars, whether they're right on the main lake or right off the main lake that have some of this grass, and those fish will kind of line up just like they do on say a ledge or a piece of structure. And that is not a bass, that is a string of grass. And you can cast swimming worm, like that burner worm. If we get some chop, maybe throw a chatterbait. And even drag a worm, classic, just Texas rig, structure fishing, kind of dragging a worm in that. It's not how I want to catch them, not going to lie. I will try to avoid that, but you got to be open-minded when your primary pattern isn't exactly putting out. It's just a game we play. It's a nice little patch of chop grass right there. There's a lot of live streams going on today because I think those guys are fishing over on Pickwick, that whatever it's called, that National PFL is, whatever it is. And then I think Bassmaster's on. Not to push you away from watching this, but you guys got a lot of options on content, which is pretty cool. I think they're catching pretty good on Pickwick too, which is kind of interesting. It looks like it's a bit of a grind, but it's kind of interesting because those fish are super pressured, especially some of those offshore fish that they're catching. They get hard to catch and very timing oriented, and it's a struggle. I struggle to catch them a lot of times, just like these guys. But at least in this case, I can see this cover and kind of identify some areas where I think they should be. Make some drops, maybe get funked by a big one. If I was getting a lot more bites and I was getting them on the drop, I would definitely. You can flip pretty fast, or at least I can. Like you can make a lot of fast drops and cover a lot of water. So if I was getting more bites, like I was maybe a week ago or so, I would probably be dropping right through this and be done with this in about 20 minutes instead of the hour and change it's taken us to kind of run this stretch. So it's just something to keep in mind. Like, you know, you gotta grade your speed based upon the fish behavior, and this fish behavior that I'm getting, these guys are super duper lethargic and negative, and I might even need to slow down even more and just soak this thing right under the mat. But it is nice though, you know, when they're kind of on that punching bite, especially when the grass just starts coming up, you know, that drop is really, I would say, the most important part of your presentation. You know, getting a clean drop on that initial fall, you know, so it falls through pretty quick because really it's a reaction strike that you're getting, and you can really cover a lot of water and cover it. I think that's the cool part about flipping, pitching, punching, and that you're covering a lot of water and you're doing it in a very precise manner. You're literally putting that bait in a high percentage area every time you make a drop because you're really picking your place. It's not like you're casting like a piece of structure and presenting the bait. Um, like gradually, like dragging it across the structure, you know, starting from like the tip of the point or the inside of the point and then going to the tip, or going along a grass line where you don't know, maybe there's a ditch or something like that. In this situation with this thick stuff, you can see every turn, every hole, every sort of grass and vegetation juncture, and make a very precise presentation. Yeah, that's thick, dude. I can't even get through there. Rim are starting to like flick and stuff. I wonder if it's about to kind of turn on. You always got to be hopeful that it is, because you never know when they're just gonna click and you're like, it's time to chew. That's something that does happen in summer a lot, man. That I've noticed. Like you'll be fishing and it's hard to stay focused. I think somebody um mentioned that. Like, how do you stay focused in that? I mean, the only thing in the back of my head is like these fish got to eat. Their metabolisms are high, so at some point they're gonna eat. It usually isn't when you want them to eat, like this situation that we're in now, and I'd love to catch one on the live. That's a big one. Stay on there. Don't come off. Look out, Bulk. Look out, Bulk. Look out, look out, look out. We gotta get him in. That's a freaking 4.5 pounder. Well, look out, Bulk. I don't want you to get hooked. Hey. Dude, chill. I don't want to break my freaking rod tip, and I don't want you to get hooked. Hold on, boys. Hold on. What a freaking disaster circuit. Okay, dude, you need to look out, because I don't want you to get hooked, and I want to get this fish back. Wow, we managed to close the deal. That's like a 3 3/4, dude. They're big, but it is a grind to catch them, dude. Like an absolute grind. So I want to get this fish back real quick, though. Let me slide this camera right over. We'll do a little release here, right into all this super clear water. See you later. You guys can see, though, what have we been fishing for? For those of you guys that started yeah, I know, I need to get the dog in net. He also needs to learn how to back in the boat, dude. That would be super helpful. But what we've been on here for, so we're 84 minutes, so we're an hour and 20 in. We took about 5 to 10 minutes out to take a pause on the live stream because of some rain that went through. But really, it's a grind, dude. But the reward is these fish, they tend to be bigger, man. They're eating. They're not super active, but they are chunkier. Did you see how that fish like was filled out? It wasn't like one of those scrawny looking summer fish. It's filled out, but man, oh man, is it a grind, dude? It's hot. It's still fog is freaking dying. Like it's really a grind, but it's a fun and can be a super rewarding way to fish. You know, if you're getting 5 bites a day, be happy about it. If you're getting 10, 15 bites a day, be ecstatic about it. That's kind of the game you play when you're targeting this heavy cover and fishing small, flipping and pitching. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. You guys got any kind of like follow content? I want to catch one fish and knock the skunk off the live stream. So I figured that'd be kind of cool. I'm gonna tool around a bit more for like an hour or so, but then I gotta go home and go back to work, and I think bog's gonna get too hot anyways. But you guys kind of get the idea of the concept. You can go. I just dropped a video. It's on the standard YouTube deal. Yeah, thanks, book. But it's on my YouTube channel. There's a video where we're talking very specific about baits. Do you think they're pressed up under the mats towards the bottom? Okay, we'll get to that question in a minute. But right now, if you want details on baits, my setup, and then we go into some other presentation details. There's a vid on YouTube. Go jump on it, hit like and subscribe if you like that kind of content and support it. I don't think these fish are pressed up onto the bottom. What happened with that fish right there is literally I pitched in, never felt a bite, never felt anything. And if you guys go back once we stop the live stream, you'll notice like I was right up here. I felt that pressure and I just set the hook because it went through and that fish was probably like a foot or so under the mat and just grabbed it, dude. Like it's a chunky one. They're eating. They're just not moving around that much. You got to put that bait right in front of their face and dangle it up. But I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I appreciate you. Yeah, I know. I noticed Huntsville's #3 in the best place to live. Huntsville's a great place to live. I love Florida though. I'll never stop going to Florida. Like I'll probably end up living half between there and here, if I can get to that point in my life. But it's fun, dude. Like right now, can you beat that kind of fishing? I know it's a grind. I know it's slow, but when you hear that braid scream, I bet you heard that braid scream through the the mic here. So it's a lot of fun, and you can catch some bigs. That was probably like 3 3/4. I know there's some 5s and 6s in here because I've hooked them or around in this kind of cover. But it is a grind to catch them. So thank you guys. We are going to tune out, but I really appreciate you tuning in for the live stream and stay tuned. We are going to do some more stuff back when we get down to Florida, and we'll do some more stuff like this because I like the no FBS, no fishing bull, boop, and being more direct with you guys because I think that's one thing that this channel can offer that a lot of other channels can't because they're filled with FBS. So tight lines, guys. Have a great weekend. I hope you're getting out on the water. We are out.